Ju Samartharvakya
Rigyaju Samartharvakya
Vedaschattvara Udrita
Vedaschattvara Udrita
Itihas Puranam cha
Itihas Puranam cha
Panchamo Veduchyate.
Panchamo Veda Uchyate.
Okay. Translation. Prabhuji, can you scroll down? Suresh Prabhuji, can you scroll down a little on the screen? Okay, thank you. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The four divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called the fifth Veda. Hare Krishna. So we know that Vedas were divided into four parts. And then here it is being said that the Itihas, or the historical facts, and the Puranas, which contain all the authentic stories. So the historical facts are in the Itihasas, like Mahabharata is Itihas, historical records, historical facts, and Puranas contain various stories. So they constitute the fifth Veda. Hare Krishna. Okay, would someone like to read this one?
Should I read this one?
Yes, please.
Samago Jaiminih Kavi.
Samago Jaimini Kavi.
Vaishampayana Evaiko.
Vaishampayana Evaiko.
Nishnato Yajushamuta.
Nishnato Yajushamuta.
Translation. After the Vedas were divided into four divisions, Paila Rashi became the professor of the Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Sam Veda, and Vaishampayan alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. Purport: the different Vedas were entrusted to different learned scholars for development in various ways. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Suresh Prabhu, could we go to the next one? I can read this.
No, but in this one, there are only like a three. Paila Rusi, the Ruk Veda, Jaimin professor is Sam Veda, and then there who is like a fourth Veda.
Yes, Mataji, that's what we are reading in the next shloka. The fourth one is mentioned. Do you want to read, Mataji? Okay, I will read. Atharva Angirasam Asit.
Atharva Angirasam Asit.
Sumantur Daruno Muni.
Samanturtaro Muni
Muni
Itihasa Purananam
Itihasa
Puranana
Pita Me Romaharshanaha.
Pita
Mero Harshana.
Translation. The Sumantu Muni, Angira, who was very devotedly engaged, was entrusted with the Atharvaved. And my father, so this is then Shukdev Goswami speaking, right? Yeah, Shukdev Goswami.
I think Sut
Goswami. Sud Goswami.
Sud Goswami, sorry. Yeah, Sud Goswami. Sud Goswami's father is Romharshana, right? So Vyasdev's son was Shukdev Goswami, and now this is Sud Goswami speaking about his father Romharshana. And my father Romharshana was entrusted with the Puranas and historical records. So in the Shruti mantras also, purport, in the Shruti mantras also it is stated that Angira Muni, who strictly followed the rigid principles of Atharva Ved, was the leader of the followers of the Atharva Ved. Hare Krishna. So anybody would like to remind everyone about Romharshana? Who's Romharshana and what we know about him? Other than what is written here. So here it is written that Romharshana was entrusted Puranas and the historical records. Anybody remembers anything else about Romharshana?
Nabbe can share.
Romharshana got killed by the grass when Lord Balaram threw it.
Yes, Hari Bol. So Romharshana was the, if you remember that story where we talk about, different moods of Lord Nityananda or Balram, we also always talk about, how Balramji was, he showed a different type of mood, whereas Nityananda, who's same as Lord Baldev, has a completely different mood. And when we talk about it, one of the examples that is given about, his anger or about Guru Parampara is, or how you should respect your Guru, is this example. So why did Lord Balram have to kill Romharshana? What happened? Do you know, Navya? Why did Lord Balram throw the grass as a weapon to kill Romharshana?
Because Romharshana didn't stand up when Lord Balaram came over there.
Yeah. So Romharshana was giving a class, or I'm not sure if they were talking about Bhagavatam or some other class, but he was on the Vyasasan and he was giving the class. As you know, here it is said, I did not know this part, that he was entrusted with the Puranas and historical records. So he was giving a class, and when Lord Balram came there, then everybody else got up to pay respects to him except Romharshana. And Lord Balram, more to set an example, threw a blade of glass and ended his life. So it's more of to set an example, and sometimes it is difficult to comprehend that why it was just a small mistake, but at that time it was more, I think, you set an example that how important it is to pay respects to your seniors, elders, and masters, spiritual masters, and Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or?
Hare Krishna. Can I make a quick
Hare Krishna.
comment? Correct.
Please.
So I was listening about this once. And Maharaj was explaining that how Romaharshana was actually trained under Srila Vyasadeva. He was direct disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, learned so nicely everything by him. But somehow he had pride. He developed pride. So to make a lesson, make a point for all time to remember in future, Lord Balaram actually arranged this pastime or leela. So one may be having so many things going in favor, like for Romaharshana, he was born in a nice family, got trained, learned under Vedvyas himself, and anybody whom right now whom we accept Guru, we give them an asan to sit on, and that is called as Vyas asan. Vyas asan means this is the person who's representing Vyasdev, who's telling us what Vyasdev has spoken. Similarly, when the Guru's birthday appearance day is there, we call it Vyas Puja. Vyas Puja means this person is representing and explaining and giving us the teachings of Srila Vyasadeva, which Vyasadeva has written. So there we call Vyas Puja. So like that, there is such a significance of Lord Vyasadeva, and what to say of a person who directly learned. Even that person, if he is not careful, can get into trouble. So how much cautious and careful we need to be when we are in this situation. So therefore, it is important to not just go by the externals, but actually very important to see our own internals. And even for that matter, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, he came across this person who was not a very learned Brahman. He couldn't even recite the shlokas properly for the Bhagavad Gita, but he was still trying to read the Bhagavad Gita every day. When he was asked he is why he has tears in his eyes and crying, he said, I don't even understand what is there in the Bhagavad Gita, but my Guru has given me instruction to read it every day, recite it, so I'm trying. But at the same time, when I do so, I meditate upon the form of Krishna, who is ready to become the servant of his own devotee Arjun. So how merciful he is. He is the Lord of the whole world, creation, universe is coming out of the expansion of his expansion of his expansion. But he is longing to become a servant of his own devotee. And this mood of the Lord, Bhavgrai, brings so much tears in my eyes. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you've understood the conclusion of the scriptures and perfected your life. So this is how we can see that internals matter so much, and we may learn it very much, but if pride and all these things comes, we can actually pose in front of other people, or nobody will know what is going on in our heart. But from Lord Balaram, from Lord Krishna, nothing is hidden. They know everything. They know even before we know what is coming up, what is going to come up. So best way to go about is by bowing down to the Lord and identifying ourselves, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Man manabhav mad bhakto vadyadi mam namaskuru. So going down in front of the Lord and identifying ourselves as connected to Krishna, identifying ourselves as devotee. So when we wear tilak, when we wear kanti mala, every time we are decorating our body with tilak, we have to remind ourselves that Krishna has blessed us with this body, which is actually like a temple. So let's these tilak, they are prayers while we are applying the tilak. We are praying to Krishna about protecting this temple and also using this temple in for the reason why temples are used, and that is to glorify to Krishna, to serve Krishna, to expand Krishna consciousness. So this is the mood we have to imbibe. Pay obeisances to the Lord, pray to the Lord intensely, reveal our heart to Lord, and ask for guidance, sharing what are our weaknesses, sharing what are potentials where we can serve in a way or like to serve, and seeking his blessings and guidance. So that way we can actually advance. But if we pose ourselves to be something which we are not, then Krishna knows it very nicely and very clearly, and we will get into trouble. So all these things we can practice in association when we are all together. Otherwise, mind will distract us, and if we don't do Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, regular recitation, hearing, discussion of Bhagavatam, then it will be default for us to go into sense gratification. Especially now, Corona times, again, a lot of problems, especially in India, we are seeing very, very bad situation going on, and even many states in the US. So one has to be reminded of how so many people are dying, and this body is very temporary. Let's remind ourselves and others about Krishna. Let's make the most of it. Otherwise, because of stress and other things, to relieve stress, people go to sense gratification. They don't necessarily take shelter of Krishna. There are too many things going on in the mind. What we do for something, we'll open up and watch some movies or some other things, and just time is flying. So if we can regularly associate with devotees, hear, read, inspire each other by sharing what one learned, that will be very nice. Once His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was telling, in early days of ISKCON, the devotees were living in New Vrindavan. How many of you have been to New Vrindavan? Anybody has been to New Vrindavan out of this group?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Natasha
Prabhuji.
Mataji, Nirbhay Prabhu, Suresh Prabhu have been. Raksha Mataji and Chaitanya Prabhu regularly goes. Anybody else?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have been there.
Ketki Mataji been there. Very nice. Great. So New Vrindavan is a farm community in West Virginia, which was started by the desire of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted such a community, and Krishna arranged. So when a pure devotee desires something, Krishna arranges. And what does pure devotee desires? He desired to glorify Krishna. So Prabhupada desired to glorify Krishna, and Krishna arranged the way he wanted. So it's a nice farm community there. And previously, actually, it was much large, huge community at the time of Srila Prabhupada. And there were lots of devotees living. And Maharaj was mentioning what used to be the schedule at New Vrindavan. The schedule was people will take rest early. I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, they will close the temple 8 o'clock. And after that, they will go and take rest. And they will wake up maybe 9. Some people will start sleeping 9, some people 10. But they will be up by 2 o'clock, 2:30. And practically everybody has their 16 rounds completed before the Mangalarti. So let's say Mangalarti happens at 4:30. So everybody has already completed their chanting by 4:30. And at 4:30, they will have Mangalarti. And by 6 o'clock, everybody will be done. They will give a little prasadam breakfast, and everybody will be out there working. And they had a lot of services, different devotees. Every moment of the day was fixed with services. They will barely sleep for 5-6 hours, sometimes 4 hours, some of the devotees. And then what they will be doing, whole day they'll serve Krishna. They built a palace of gold. So I'm sure you all who visited have seen the palace of gold, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the palace of gold is built up by all these devotees who are working there. And then other devotees, they will have different other services, taking care of the cows, and taking care of the deities, taking care of, different other aspects. And while they were doing all of this, and living their lives in New Vrindavan, they had they had a very strict schedule that they didn't even have 1 minute to do here and there. They had Bhagavatam class, they had services, they had books to read. Everybody will read every single day in spite of that. It is not that somebody will not read. And everybody will attend the Bhagavatam class. And then when two people will meet, what they will talk is what you remember from the class today and what you read from the books of Prabhupada today. So these are the two conversations. Everybody, whoever will see each other, first thing they will ask this. This was the standard. And therefore everybody had to study. Why? Because somebody meets us, they will ask, right? Of course, that was not the only motivation, but that was also one of the reasons why nobody would miss reading and hearing, because everybody is having that consciousness. And what were they getting? These are all Americans, 100%, and hundreds of devotees were there, not just few. There were hundreds of devotees. And what was the amount of money they were getting? Nothing. It is not that anybody was paying them anything. And they were living at 1/10 of the poverty line. Let's say if the poverty line says that in America, anybody who earns less than, anybody who earns less than what, $100 a week, then that is called as poor. Let's say if that is the poverty line, then these devotees, they were per person, they were only having $10 per week. So 1/10 of the amount. That was the kind of money they had, which means nothing. And they had very, very simple food. It's not that their food was very opulent or great. No. They were very simple food. And then they had no money, they had simple food. And what they had was total Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj says, there were times when his schedule was so much packed during the day that there was practically not more than 5, 10, 15 minutes for him to just take a nap in the day. And at night, he had to do the whole kirtan for the whole night without sleeping. And he used to do that. And he did that for 2 years. The whole night kirtan and the whole day this. And everybody talks about it. And then in the morning, there were no heaters or anything. And there was a small lake down. So everybody in the morning will go down and take bath in the lake itself. And what was the situation in the winters? The lake water sometimes had a covering of ice. It was covered by ice. So the first person who had to go had to break the ice, catch, and then take out the water from underneath. And from that, they had to take bath. And that was the way they lived the lifestyle. And these are all Americans. And now, many of them, they are big leaders, big sannyasis at different places, because they tolerated all that situation. Because Krishna tests everybody. And how we are internally comes out at such times when we are tested by Krishna. So there, he takes it out. Water, cold water, and he takes bath. and then goes and does their services. So this was the kind of life these people had lived. And what was their intention? Only one intention: pure Krishna conscious service to Krishna. So this is how we can see Krishna knows our internals. So here Roma Harshana, Krishna, Lord Balram knew his internal, and that's why he gave him what was appropriate at that time. All right, thank you. Please continue, Nirvipul. Hare Krishna, I'm not able to hear anybody. Suresh Prabhu, you're
Hare
that's
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm just making sure
Hare
I'm not.
Krishna Prabhuji, yeah, क्योंकि मैं mute पे था.
No problem. Okay, yes. So some devotees can read the next one.
Any volunteer for this one? 1.423.
Read, Suresh Prabhu.
हाँ प्रभुजी. तत्
Yeah.
तत् एता ऋषयो वेदम्
तायेता ऋषयो वेदम्
स्वयं स्वयं व्यस्नेकेदा
स्वं स्वं व्यस्य अनिकेदा
शिष्ये प्रशिष्ये तच् शिच्येर
शिष्ये प्रशिष्ये तशिष्ये
वेदास्ते सखिनो भवन्.
वेदास्ते सखिनो भवन्.
Translation. All these learned scholars in their turns rendered their interested Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples and grand disciples, and thus the respective branches of the followers of the Vedas came into being. Purport. The original source of knowledge is the Vedas. There is no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to the original text of Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable, and learned professors. In other words, the Vedic knowledge broken into different branches of different disciplic succession has been distributed all over the world. No one therefore can be claimed independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. Hare Krishna. It has been explained here, uh, all the learned scholar in their turn, and rendered their interested Vedas into their discipline. We get the knowledge from the disciplic succession, like in the uh, Srimad Bhagavatam. In the not Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th page, it has been written like 7th or 11th page. We got the information from our disciplic succession, like how our our great sages and the uh, other the great disciples, we got the our knowledge. It's not like the something written something on the air. It's from the disciplic succession. Everything is we got from the our great gurus, or the we can say the Maharaj, or whatever the it's like Shuradev. If anybody has Bhagavad Gita, like the Krishna gave to Brahma and Brahma gave to Narads, and then Shandev, Vivashwanu, Vyas, Madhava, and after that it will be came to our disciplic succession. I think all the Then from Bhakti Vinod Swasti Thakur, Swasti Siddhant Thakur, and then it came to Srila Prabhupada. So then what is the source for all the knowledge? All the source for the knowledge is only the Vedas. Whoever is learned scholars, or the Brahman, or the Pandita, who they knows the Vedas. Then that is all it is over. And once you get the knowledge, and it has been distributed all over the world. So no one therefore can claim that they are independent from the knowledge, or they are manipulating the language of the Vedas. So then that is not the correct. Sorry, please forgive me. Anybody can comment. Hare Krishna.
And Prabhuji, I think here when they are saying in the purport, different branches by different disciplic successions is referring to various Vaishnav Sampradayas, like Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya. Ours is Brahma Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, and like that.
Yes, Mataji,
Four,
like the
four
Brahma
Kumaras.
Sampradaya. Yeah. Four Sampradaya, basically the Brahma Sampradaya, which is the Madhvacharya, and Sri Sampradaya, like the Ramajunacharya, and the Rudra Sampradaya, like the Vishnu Swami, and Kumar Sampradaya, like the Nimbakacharya. Yes, Mataji, you are right. We'll go on next, Mataji. Anyone would like
Yes.
to comment on that? Any comments? Then otherwise we can go to the next. We still have time, 5 minutes, so we can cover one more verse. Anyone would like to go for this one?
Prabhuji, I can read if nobody's reading.
Yes, Mataji.
Ta eva veda durmedher
Tava eva veda durmedher
धारयन्ते पुरुषेर यथा
धारयन्ते पुरुषे यथा
एवं चकार भगवान चकार
एवं चकार भगवान
व्यास कृपण वत्सला.
व्यास कृपण वत्सलः.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intellectual men. Purport: the Veda is one, and the reasons for its divisions in many parts are explained herewith. The seed of all knowledge, or the Veda, is not a subject matter which can easily be understood by any ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who is not a qualified Brahman. This stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claim Brahmanical qualifications simply by their birthright in the family of a Brahman claim that the study of the Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmana caste only. Another section of the people take this as an injustice to members of other castes who do not happen to take birth in a Brahman family. But both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which had to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of the Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This personality is very rarely understood by those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance. In the Satya Yuga, everyone was situated in the mode of goodness. Gradually, the mode of goodness declined during the Treta and the Dwapar Yugas, and the general mass of people became corrupt. In the present age, the mode of goodness is almost nil, and so for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted, powerful sage Srila Vyasadeva divided the Vedas in various ways so that they may be practically followed by less intelligent persons in the modes of passion and ignorance. It is explained in the next shloka as follows. So here Prabhupada is saying that um, initially that there is a strict, meaning there is a limitation that Vedas should be read by a qualified Brahman. So, so that people took that to mean that only Brahman caste can read and understand Vedic knowledge. And people who were not Brahmanas were also complaining that that this is injustice. Why are they not allowed to read Vedic knowledge? And Prabhupada is saying both of those are incorrect. Neither it is Brahmana's birthright to read Vedas or to be able to understand Vedas, nor is it non-Brahmanas. So it depends on the qualities of goodness. Whoever is more in the mode of goodness will be able to understand this knowledge, because even Lord Brahma, who is the supreme most living entity, uh, had to be explained the Vedic knowledge by Supreme Personality himself. Then how can no, so what is the scope for other living entities who do not have all those qualities? um, and I think it was at His Grace Advait Pran Prabhu or somebody gave a lecture and was explaining how Krishna has 100% of all qualities and opulences, and Lord Shiva has I believe 84%, something like that, and Brahmaji has 78% or 55 qualities, some gunas. Um, Lord Krishna 64 and Brahmaji 55, and only a percent of those, not 100%. So that is the highest goal that a human being can have, how much qualities they can have. And he's in the mode of goodness. So anybody who's situated in the mode of goodness can understand, but the mode of goodness has declined a lot in Kali Yuga. And so we have to purify ourselves. We have to get rid of mode of passion and ignorance and be situated in the mode of goodness and have the Brahmanical qualities, all the qualities of cleanliness and mercy and truth and all of those, and many more Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita. All those qualities need to be there to be able to understand Vedas. Hare Krishna. Please add anything, Prabhuji. I think the next shloka Prabhupada is saying will explain this more.
Next. It's the long one. So we want to finish it, or we can do it tomorrow. Whatever the devotee says.
Yes, Prabhuji, probably tomorrow.
Okay, Mataji, then we can end here. Or anybody would like to say something? If you want to add anybody. Nirbhay Prabhu, Raksha Mata, Rakshita Mata, any Kitki Mata.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for sharing the screen, and thank you all the devotees for nicely sharing. I have nothing to share. So I think we can end it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Vancha kalpatarubhesha kripa sindhuvya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna. Thank you.